Happy holidays and welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, where we talk all things manga, and I'm excited to share with you my manga haul for the month of November of over 90 volumes. And this is a video you're going to want to stick to the end, as I have a very special out of print series I'm so excited to share with you. It might have been on my holy grail list. This video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. Oh my, this Tokyo Treat box is literally filled to the brim. I'm surprised they're able even to get this closed. I'm so excited to open this and find out what's inside. Tokyo Treat is a monthly pop Japanese snack subscription box. You'll get up to 20 exclusive limited edition and seasonally flavored Japanese snacks that are only available in Japan for a limited time. Celebrate the new year with Tokyo Treat's New Year Snackin' Party Box. It's filled with snacks inspired by Japanese or New Year's holiday, such as a lucky red and white Kit Kat or a deep fried mochi, and many, many more. This fishy looks so good. It smells like chocolate. Oh my goodness. This is absolutely so cute. These are so tasty. Let's go ahead and kick it off the new year being healthy with 12 lemons worth of vitamin C. Now that is refreshing. One thing I absolutely love about these boxes is just the smell. When it comes to Sakura Co, especially the teas, the lemon scents ringing the new year going into Hiroshima, one thing I just really appreciate about this type of box is that you're getting not only the taste from the culture, but the smells as well, as if you're there itself. Sakura Co is a monthly authentic Japanese snack subscription box that supports local Japanese snack makers. Each box comes with 20 traditional, authentic, and artisan Japanese snacks, including Japanese teas and a special Japanese tableware. This month, Sakura Co embarks on a special journey to Hiroshima, partnering with the Hiroshima government to bring you a unique box of delicacies and cultural treasures. Immerse yourself in the breathtaking and natural and historic landmarks of Hiroshima, a picture renowned for its resilience and beauty. Delight in a curated selection of Hiroshima's finest treats, with lemon mochi, banana bunkin, New Year's cinnamon, and candy, all pairs perfectly with a fragrant tea. Complete your cultural Japanese with a beautiful Nikko, a traditional Japanese wrapping cloth. This is so amazing. In fact, it's even addictive. I could eat these all day. One of the best things I love about these boxes is when I went and shared these snacks with my kids, and one of the first things they said is, "Dad, why is this only once a month? Can we get these more regularly?" This is just so good. Their goal is to have you experience Japan in the comfort of your own home. And when it comes to the smells, the taste, and even the feel, they definitely knock it out of the park. And my goal for this video isn't to be like, "Oh, look at me. I bought over 90 volumes of manga. Check them out. This is what I spent my money on." No. I feel like that'd be kind of foolish. My goal with each of these videos is to not only show you what I picked up, but why I picked up each of these volumes and the ones I read to help hopefully pique your interest and give you an idea whether or not this series is right for you. As manga is definitely, it can be an expensive habit to collect manga, as well it's expensive of your personal time, which is of a priceless value. So to help give you a more of an informed decision, I'll do the best I can to go through as fast as I can each of these volumes I picked up. And there's actually 10 brand new series I picked up. And if you actually click the right hand corner, you can go ahead and check out that video where I go more in depth and give you a first impression of the 10 brand new volume 1 series that you'll see in this haul. In the comments below, I'd also love to know, what did you either pick up or read this past November? And with that said, let's go ahead and first check out ongoing or missing titles that I received from Viz Media, with the first being Queen's Quality Volume 18. This is a shoujo series I've just heard nothing but good things. You might be wondering, Scott, this is volume 18. Do you have the rest? Why, yes, I do. Scott, have you started reading it? Why, no, I have not. And the reason why is I'm waiting for Queen's Quality Volume 1. I've heard nothing but good things about this series. It's one I've been wanting to have my daughter be able to start reading herself, as it piques her interest. But QQ Sweeper Volume 1, which is the prequel for the series, has not been reprinted yet. So until that comes in, I have not started this series, and I believe me, when QQ Sweeper Volume 1 is reprinted, this is a series I will in depth right away start reading and give you a review. Next I picked up is Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible Volume 10, and this is a rom-com series with high school antics. Now this series, I specifically picked it up because I think there's only like 12 volumes in the series, so it's a shorter series, and with that lovely Viz Media increase, I wanted to avoid as much as possible of that 20% price hike. So I was able to go ahead and pre-order this at a good price, and I'm just gonna wait till the next 2 volumes come out. The series will be complete, and my goal is to hopefully just read all at once and give you a review to give you whether or not this series is right for you. Next I picked up is a manga that has this guy who can sense spirits, as well as this girl that has 2 pupils in each eye and they can go ahead and exorcise spirits, and that is Dark Gathering. Now I've only read the first volume, which I thought it was okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible either, and it had a bunch of spooky suspense to it, as well as some comedy sprinkled in. Now the second volume I ordered from a particular company that for some reason has not been able to ship out that volume, but they said they will ship it out soon. It was about 4 months ago, so my fingers are crossed that hopefully that will happen soon and I can tell you more about Dark Gathering. Next, I picked up a zombie apocalypse comedy series from the same author that gave us the wonderful Alice in Borderland, and that is Zom 100 Volume 12. I know the anime has had some production issues, and so with that, I just decided to avoid the anime. I'm more of a manga person anyways. So because I loved Alice in Borderland so much, I wanted to continue to support the author, and I went and I picked up this comedy series. Next is a series where the first 2 volumes, I was very close to dropping this series, but I thought, hey, let's go ahead and get the 3rd volume. And this is a series that's definitely not for kids, and the thing I just did not like about this is it felt like the answer to problems with evil and horrific situations is let's go ahead and help them by giving them more evil and horrific situations. And to me, the ends just don't justify the means. How we get to our destination matters just as much as the destination and getting to the dream itself. And that is none other than Boys Abyss. Again, definitely not for kids. This series, but the 3rd volume actually redeemed itself a bit, where I actually kind of liked the direction it was going, where there's actually a little bit of hope. Now, this main character, he's in this rural area and his life is just awful. His family is just wearing him down. The situations around him is just not good, and he really only has one friend. And when he tries to find out what life is about, what could be hopeful for him, adults come into his life that actually just drag him down. In his life, when he thinks that what he's getting is actually going to be helpful and move him towards a better future, is actually, in the big picture of things, making the situation so much worse. It is almost like a car accident. You couldn't help but want to check out for a second and then all of a sudden turn your head as fast as you could. So I am intrigued enough. I'm going to continue and get it and give it another volume, as I thought the 3rd volume was much better. It does give me definite vibes like Goodnight Punpun. So if you like Goodnight Punpun, this is probably a series that's going to be up your alley. Next, I picked up an adult rom-com comedy that's on the Shown Sunday line, and it's from the same author that made Hayate the Combat Butler, and that is Fly Me to the Moon Volume 20. It's a series I have no excuse. I have not started checking out yet, other than reading the 1st volume, which I did enjoy. The next series I picked up is a series I actually dropped the series after 10 volumes. People say it's part of the Holy Trinity, which is Hell's Paradise, Chainsaw Man, and none other than Jujutsu Kaisen. Now I know people love the anime. I watched the 1st season of the anime and I couldn't get it. I went and saw the movie Zero. My friends absolutely loved it, but for some reason, I just could not continue reading the series. But I think it's so important because I've done the Holy Trinity. I reviewed Chainsaw Man. I reviewed Hell's Paradise. I feel like I need to give this one another go so I can give you my true thoughts and finish this review cycle of this Holy Trinity and give some final thoughts about all these series and which one I would rank the best. Next I picked up is a series I have not started yet, unfortunately, as all the volumes were recently reprinted, I think within this last year, but that is Blue Exorcist Volume 28. So because of that, I don't have as much to say on this, as I know a lot of people do enjoy the series, and I'm just like, wow, 28 volumes is a lot. Luckily, this series is, I believe it's almost like month to month coming out in Japan. So because of that, we only get 1 or 2 volumes a year. So I know at least I have plenty of time to catch up with the series, and who knows how even close it is to actually concluding. Next I picked up is one of my favorite new series that come out this year, and I'm actually surprised that I'm holding up the 6th volume, but that is none other than Helk. Now, Helk is from the Shown Sunday line, and this series has to do with the Demon King has been killed. And with that, they need to find a new ruler, and none other than a human himself decides to enter the tournament to now rule over the demons. Is he a friend? Is he a foe? What is going on? This has been such a phenomenal journey itself. Now, the 2nd volume did wane a little bit into the 3rd, but then the 4th, 5th, and 6th just continue to ramp up, and it has just been phenomenal. It's what I highly recommend checking out if you haven't already. I think there's only 12 volumes total it's going to be for the series, so hands down, it's one you gotta check out. Next is a series that I was actually able to get almost all the volumes for a super good deal earlier this year. I just haven't checked it out yet. I need to, as there's a few people I know that's actually in their top 10 of all times, but you don't hear too many people talking about this deep track, and that is Sephra of the End Vampire Reign. And I actually am intrigued for this, as there's so many other good vampire series, and so because it's part of the Shown Jump line, it has piqued my interest as I've had more and more people come out of the woodwork just to say how great of a series it is. Speaking of volume 28, I actually have another volume 28 series that reminds me of Blue Exorcist, where it was just so hard to get the volumes, but it's as popular, if not more. This series is on so many people's top 10 lists of all time. I just have not had a chance. I have no excuse. The whole series was reprinted earlier this year, and with that, I just got them all at once with this backlog. I haven't checked it out yet, but that is D. Greyman Volume 28. It is a series that is on my short list I want to read right away, and hope to tell you more about my thoughts if this is worth checking out. Next I picked up is a series that is in my daughter's top 10 greatest manga of all time, and she really pushed me to put this in my top 10 video I did, but because I haven't personally read all the volumes, I said, honey, I got to wait, but she said, Dad, this series deserves to be in there, and that is the shoujo series Yona of the Dawn Volume 40. I'm excited to follow and continue the journey of Princess Yona myself. I have no excuses. We're fully caught up here. I need to get caught up like she is to tell you more about this beloved series. Next, I picked up a series that's from the same author as Oshin no Ko, and that is Love is War Volume 28. Now, this series, I believe the final volume's coming in America either March or April. So with that, I've decided to pause reading this series so I can just do a deep dive all at once to tell you more about this series. I love Oshin no Ko, and I have a feeling it's going to be the same with this story as well. Next up is a manga series where I am actually caught up digitally for the series, but I actually do not read very many digital manga. Now, this series, it started off, this is part 2, started off really well, but then has kind of waned on me and gone downhill a bit. It's not the direction I want. I could go on a full rant and video on what I think this series should be, and it's not, but that's none other than Chainsaw Man Volume 13 for part 2. Again, maybe I'll do a video, just a rant. I don't think it'd do very well. I'm not sure how many people would want to watch it, but the series is just not going in the direction I think it should. There's so much potential with part 2, and all of a sudden it's just fallen completely flat. And you know what? Maybe if I have some more time in January, even if it gets 10 views, maybe it'd be worth me telling you what I really think of Chainsaw Man Part 2 and what I think they could do just to make it a greater series. Next up is a series that made my top 20 series of all time for 2023, and this series just had so much battle, so much heart, so much emotion going on for the whole thing, and that is My Hero Academia Volume 36. Wow, and this one ended on such a cliffhanger. I heard to avoid even looking at the cover of Volume 37, so I'm trying to do that. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. I just heard do not look at the cover until you get it. But wow, I love My Hero Academia. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse talking about it over and over again, so with that, we'll just say check it out. Next I picked up is one of my favorite action comedy series that come out within this last 2 years, and I'm surprised there hasn't been anime for it yet, but that is Sakamoto Days Volume 10, and this current arc they're in is just so hilarious as they are trying to now re-go into this assassination program as you follow this retired assassin who now works as a convenience store clerk. He has a family, life is good, but his past is coming to haunt him. And it's just been such a fun and entertaining series. Highly recommend checking out. Next, I picked up a series that actually made my top 10 of brand new series that come out last year, as I thoroughly enjoyed this series over and over. It's one of the series just continues to get better. It's a historical fiction setting from the same author as Assassination Classroom, and that is The Elusive Samurai Volume 9. Now, this series follows this warrior who actually does not like to battle the same way, but is very elusive and steadfast. It's just been a fun series to actually see the idea of historically how they fought battles a long time ago in Japan, as well as trying to see this elusiveness, how he's trying to survive and raise his clan back up after being completely decimated and backstabbed. So such a fun series, I recommend. Next is a series where I actually broke my rule where I have a 5-volume rule, and after 5 volumes it's not good anymore, just stop it. But this series actually took me 8 volumes to get completely sucked in, but afterwards I was hooked, and it's been such a fun series, and that is Black Clover, and this is volume 33. Now the volumes right now seem to be slower and slower coming out. This last arc has just been phenomenal, and I know afterwards the author took a break to get us into the very last arc of the series, but this is an amazing fantasy, almost medieval battle show and manga with magic, fantasy powers. It's just been so much fun, a wild ride. And again, if it's one that maybe you're hesitant on, it is a commitment to go past 8 volumes, but I believe after 8 volumes, you'll probably enjoy it just as much as I have. Next up is a manga series that's not quite a romantic comedy, not quite a sports manga, not quite high school antics. That is none other than Blue Box, and this is volume 7. And this actually almost made my top 20 greatest manga of all time, but I thought I'd give just a little bit more breathing room, and the artwork is also incredible. It has been such a fun series as you're following these characters to find out who's gonna like who, is there gonna be a confession, as well as you can feel the intensity and the passion and just wanting to train and just get better at the sports that they're playing. And do they have time for romance as alongside as the sport as well? Is one greater than other? I cannot wait to find out. Last is a manga series that I've been very close to dropping, but the volume 4 kind of solidified that I need to continue reading this series, and that is Shojin X, and this is from the same author that gave us Tokyo Ghoul, which I really do appreciate his unique artwork style. Now, what was interesting and a bit of a twist is it feels like volume 4 is now the start of the series itself, and it felt like the first 3 volumes, and I kind of say it in this volume, were sort of like the prequel, kind of ramping us up to the actual story itself. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and continue on, and I'm going to treat the first 3 as kind of like the prologue of the story itself, and now to see where the story is going to take us. Let's go ahead and now move on to ongoing or missing titles that I received from Yen Press / their Eyes Press line. And the first I got is the adult romantic comedy manhwa Business Proposal Volume 3, and it is killing me. I really want to talk about this series, but I cannot, because the same company that I'm waiting for Dark Gathering Volume 2 also has Business Proposal Volume 1, which I pre-ordered in April, that has not shipped. I've messaged them several times. Supposedly now, hopefully they have it, and because of that, I cannot tell you more about this series, but I've heard many good things about it, so hopefully my next video will have it and I can talk about this series. Next, I picked up a missing volume that I needed for Bongo Stray Dogs Dead Apple Volume 2. Now, I already have 1 and 3, and I believe there's going to be 4 volumes total of this spin-off series. And the reason why I picked this up is not only because of Bongo Stray Dogs, but this is actually, I think, even higher rated than Bongo Stray Dogs itself. So to have such good reviews for a spin-off series, I thought, 4 volumes, why not go ahead and continue checking it out? Next is a series I picked up that had a very successful anime, and I absolutely love isekai series, and that is Volume 10, A Death Mount Death Play. I haven't started the series yet. I'm a little cautious because it's in shrink wrap, so it might not be for me, but this is a series I do want to check out as I absolutely love isekais. Speaking of isekais, I got another wonderful isekai, and that is Volume 21, The Saga of Tanya of Evil, as you follow this character that's reincarnated as this new general character that's going to go ahead and take them all down. You saw the spin-off. Now to see the actual main series itself is Volume 23 of Bongo Stray Dogs. This is a crime series that I've just been wanting to pick up and read so much. I need to go ahead and pick it up. I have no excuses, but here's volume 23. Next up, I picked up a series that all the volumes that were currently out made my top 20 greatest series of all time. That's none other than Higurashi. Now, this is the new one that's come out from Yen Press, here's the GOU, as well as I picked up the anthology comic series, and this is made by a bunch of different authors, gave some short stories. So I actually decided not to read part 1 until I got this one to read them both together, so I'm excited to hopefully be able to read that soon and tell you my thoughts more on this new series. Next, I picked up a series that has some of the best manga covers. It's another vampire series, and that is Case of the Vantees, volume 20. It feels like, my guess is we're pretty caught up with Japan, as it's just been very slow coming out. This has been such a phenomenal, interesting series. Again, such beautiful artwork and paneling. It's one you highly recommend checking out if you've not already. Next up is I picked up is volume 5 of Shadow House. This is a mysterious series that I've been wanting to read for a while. I have no excuse, it's just with this backlog I haven't started it yet. Next series I picked up has an ongoing anime, and I actually think the manga does a better job than anime itself, as the panels itself for the comedy aspect is just so much better. That is none other than Endless in Shadow volume 8. Now, I am a little annoyed where I think the anime is actually further than the American release of the manga, which is kind of a bummer. I feel like if we're going to pay a little more for a manga, I feel like it would be right if we're actually further along than the anime itself. I did enjoy the anime. I thought it was entertaining and interesting, but I just, man, the paneling for the comedy aspect just do so much more justice and is better through the manga. Next, I picked up one of my favorite new series that come out this year, and that is Oshe no Ko Volume 4. I'm actually surprised we got 4 volumes this year. I cannot wait for more volumes of this series. I don't want to spoil it. I'll just say read volume 1, and by after volume 1, you'll have an idea if this is a series you want to continue reading. But it just hooked me so in. At first I was like, what am I reading? Is this really any good? And by the end of it, I just could not get enough. It has been such a fun, wild ride of a series. Next I picked up from Eyes Press is The Boxer Volume 4. This has been such a good series, as not only is it a sports manga, but what I appreciate is it gives you more in details about each of the fighters outside of the ring. And for each of the people I guess you consider like the opponent or villain, you get to see through their perspective of life. And I really appreciate it's not just focused on a main character, but the main character, you get to see his opponents, why they are the way they are, and just what are their dreams that are now being completely smashed when you follow the main character as he just continues to get better and better. It's been such a fun and great series. You gotta check out The Boxer. Next I picked up is Why Relena Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion Volume 5. And this series made my #1 for brand new manga to come out last year, and it almost made my top 20 greatest manga of all time. I just felt with 5 volumes and probably being biased, as well as it needs a little bit more breathing room. Such a fun series as you follow this girl in real life. She's pushed off a building and then wakes up in this novel that she's read it before. But when she wakes up, she's actually a side character, and she knows in the story the side character gets killed, and she's just not having any of that. It has been such a fun story. My daughter has loved it as well. I just can't gush enough. You've got to read it if you've not already. Next I picked up is Kowloon Generic Romance Volume 5. Now this story actually, after the first, second volume, I wasn't sure if I was going to continue reading, but it's just gotten better and better. Now, each volume is completely shrink wrap, which I'm not exactly sure why. There's nothing too sketchy in it. Maybe some language and some of the adult context, but there's no like etchiness to it, which I really do appreciate. But it's just been a very interesting adult series as you're following these 2 characters. There's some twists in the story, so I don't want to give up too much of it, but there is a mystery going on that you just want to unravel. It's a good slow burn. So if you like an adult romantic comedy and you're looking for more of a slow burn story, this is one you're going to want to read. Next I picked up probably my favorite shoujo series to come out this year, and that is Honey Lemon Soda Volume 4. Now I wasn't too keen with the first volume, but the 2 and 3 and now with the 4, the volumes have just solidified just how good of a story this is. And I really do love the main character. Following this girl and her as a protagonist on what's going to happen, how she's kind of coming out of her shell, and you're realizing just high school isn't exactly as easy as she thought, and now there's this boy with the beautiful lemon hair that she just can't get enough about, and you wonder what is going to happen. It's just been a very good shoujo series. Highly recommend if you've not already. Next I picked up was The Beginning After the End, Volume 4. And this story actually reminded me a bit of Mushoku Tensei, except for with all the itchiness and kind of grossness going on with it. This series is just so good so far. It's almost like an isekai story, but not. The main character is in this fantasy world. He's growing up. Now he's getting ready for this tournament. It's been such a fun, wild ride. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just don't hear enough people talking about it. It's one you should check out if you've not already. Next I picked up from the Eyes Press line is The World After the Fall, Volume 4. This has been such a fun story so far. There's been so much good mystery behind it as you follow this main character where this magical tower just appears on Earth, and everyone is now transported and has to go through this tower. And at the end of it, he's the only one that's still surviving, and he finally gets to the top level. And when he gets to the top of the tower, it's not exactly what he suspects. It wasn't what I expected, and it's just been such a fun story and kind of completely flipped it on its head on what you thought the story was going to be. And I just love as you're following this mystery unravel. Next, another series I picked up from the Eyes Press line, and that is The Villains Are Destined to Die, Volume 5. This is another series I have just thoroughly enjoyed. It's one I highly recommend checking out if you've not, as you follow this main character who ends up waking up as the villain. Now, she's not a villain herself, but it's been interesting as you're following this character and seeing, now I understand why they might have chosen the path of being a villain. And it's interesting as you're trying to see her trying to survive, and she's just afraid of getting killed from these other characters. So you see her, she's trying to fend herself off all the time. She's a villain, but you don't want her to be a villain. You don't want to see her get killed from these other people. So you see her as she's trying to navigate the situation and try to somehow survive. It's been such a fun read. Let's now move on to ongoing or missing titles that I received from KODANSHA, and the first being Eden Zero Volume 25. This is from the same author that gave us Fairy Tail and Raid Master. Fairy Tail 70 volumes I decided to avoid. Raid Master, where so many of the volumes are out of print and super expensive, so I decided I gotta check out this author. I went to Eden Zero, the ongoing series, the sci-fi adventure series. I've heard good things. I started watching the anime and I thought it was pretty good, so I said, why not go ahead and try the manga? Next, I picked up another series. It's probably one of my favorite series to come out this year, and that is Welcome to Demon School Volume 4. This has been such a funny and entertaining series as you're following this main character whose parents sold him to a demon. And then what's interesting is now he's having to go to a demon school as a human, pretending to be a demon himself. And it's just been a hilarious hijinks series. There's many laugh out loud moments. It's cozy. It's one I just fallen deeply in love with, and I cannot wait every time I get a new volume. Next I picked up is the next omnibus volume of Fire Force Volume 7. I absolutely love how the all spines go together for the series, and I also appreciate the omnibus form as it has the bigger trim itself. So not only are you saving money instead of buying the individual volumes, where if I bought 3 individual volumes that'd be more expensive than the omnibus, the volumes were smaller. I just thought that was such a good bang for your buck. This is from the same author as Soul Eater. Next is one of the greatest shoujo series that people absolutely rave and love so much, as a box set coming out, and that is A Sign of Affection. This is Volume 7. Next is a series that made my top 20 greatest series of all time. It's a sports manga about soccer, and that is Blue Lock. It has been such a fun series. I am so excited every time I get a new volume. I immediately grab it, I devour it. Man, the intensity, the artwork, the paneling, you don't know what's going to happen next as you're following this battle royale as they fight amongst themselves to see who is going to be in the soccer team to represent Japan. Next I picked up is Shangri-La Frontier Volume 8. I'd love to tell you more about this series, but that company where I've ordered other volumes that have not shipped, they shipped a couple of the volumes, but it says they have the other volumes of this, so because I'm missing several volumes of it, I've not started the series yet, but I'd love to, as I know the anime is coming out, it's out right now. People love the series. It's one I think I'll love as well. So until that, here's Volume 8. hopefully someday I can tell you more. Next I picked up is One Dance Volume 7. This is a dancing manga series. I thought so much. I ended up picking up Blue Period a long time ago. It ended up becoming one of my favorite series of all time about the world of art. And it was something I just did not know much about. So I said, man, let's go ahead and do the same with dancing. So with that, I picked up this series. I've not started yet, but I need to, as I heard it just has such a good cast of characters. It has a wide cast of characters, but each one has a unique story, and man, I just heard nothing but good things, so that's why I picked it up. Last from KODANSHA I picked up was Tsugumi Volume 3. Now I will say with the story, it has its ups and downs. This one was kind of a slower pace, and I was like, man, let's just get to it. But then the end had me hooked, and I just cannot wait for the 4th volume to find out what happens next. Now I will say there's not as much dialogue in the panels, but it does have some great, interesting, just intriguing artwork. So it's a story I haven't seen as much before, but you follow this post-apocalyptic, Japan's been completely destroyed, and you're following this main character who's dropped in, and he's somehow trying to survive the city and go ahead and get this mysterious package, this item. So it's been fun so far, but at the same time, it's kind of going up, it's going down, and I will say this last volume went down, 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 and at the very end went, and I was like, oh, I gotta go ahead and keep reading. Let's go ahead and now check out ongoing or missing titles that I received from smaller publishers. The first being Komonojin Volume 8, and this is by 7 Seas. Now this series, you're following this detective agency as they're going ahead. At first it just seemed these missions weren't really connected, and then this new arc was just so good. I almost dropped the series, but I'm so glad I didn't. It's been a very interesting series so far. Next, I picked up one of my favorite series of all time, made my top 10 greatest manga of all time, and that is Skip and Loafer Volume 8. This series just makes me want to be a better person, helps me better understand other people, and just has gorgeous artwork. Highly recommend checking out if you've not already. Next I picked up is an assassin series, and that is Candy and Cigarettes Volume 6. I've not started this series yet, but man, I've enjoyed the artwork here on the front and the back. I've heard good things about it. I need to go ahead and start reading. Next I picked up was Yakuza Fiancé Volume 5. Now this series is an adult rom-com-ish with a bit of intense paneling, some intense moments, and you're just like, oh snap. It's definitely not for kids, but has been a thorough journey so far. Next I picked up was Heavenly Delusion Volume 6. This series, I was actually waiting for this volume so I could go and read the series, as I recently just got all the volumes, and I knew Volume 6 was going to be shipping out soon. I said, let's just hold off and wait till 6 and we can read the whole thing together. I know the anime did very, very well, so hopefully the manga also holds up. Next I picked up from Webtoon is Everything is Fine Volume 2, and I'll let you know that everything not necessarily is fine. It is a very good story, but I do want to caution, I'm not sure if it's worth owning physically. I may just go ahead and keep reading this on Webtoons as a bit of a faster read. This kind of horror story, and there's very intense moments in the paneling. It has been very, very good. I've enjoyed it so far, but for what it is, I feel like it's something that I'll probably just keep reading digitally, as I don't feel there's a means to own it. Just because of how fast it goes. There's not as much dialogue, but it has been such an interesting story so far. Next series I picked up is The Tower of God Volume 3, another Webtoon series. This is one of the most popular Webtoon series out there. Volume 2 came out not that long ago, and then Volume 1 came out a while ago, and that made my original top 10 of new manga series to come out in 2022. Now with the 3rd volume, I'm excited to go ahead and ramp up and find out what exactly is going on inside the tower. Last from smaller publishers by the same author as Fire Force, and that is the lovely, beautiful edition from Square Enix of Soul Eater Volume 12. It is a perfect edition indeed, as I absolutely love these hardcovers of the story. Now let's go ahead and move on to new to me series, the first being from Viz Media, and that is Stone Ocean Volume 6. Now I thought maybe I should have put this as ongoing, as I have all the other JoJo series, but because it's a new one, and I know a lot of people were excited for this, meaning that after this comes our beautiful Part 7, which is Steel Ball Run, one of the greatest series of all time. So because of that, I'm excited to go ahead and continue the series. Here's more JoJo Bizarre Adventures. Next series I picked up is actually a one-shot, and that is Original Sin. Now this story, it gave me some of those Goodnight Pun Pun vibes. I actually go more in depth into my other video where I talk about the new releases that came out, where I can give you more of my take on this series. Next up, I'm going to show you a 30th anniversary edition that I will not even say the name because I know I'm going to butcher it, and I am so sorry. But this is, man, this is a honker. It's kind of a one-shot. It's all together. I'm very excited. This is from the same author as Sunny, and I was like, wow. This is definitely bang for your buck. As I believe the MSRP says $40. I think I got it for $25. I think you can get it for around $25 as well. And I was like, man, this is totally worth it. So beautiful. It's a series I've always wanted to read. And I'm so glad they went and reprinted it. You also have just some beautiful full color. This poster here. They did such a good job and gave this justice. So I'm really excited to go ahead and read this series, the black and white 30th anniversary edition. I'm so sorry. I do not want to butcher the name, but wow, I am so excited to deep dive into this one. Let's go ahead and now move on to New to Me series from Yen Press, and the first being Tokyo Babylon, which is another series I go more in depth in that video where I give more details on 10 new releases to give you more ideas whether or not this one is right for you. Speaking of that video where I give you more insights, another one is Bolshoi the Rock. I absolutely love this series. It was a great first volume, but go ahead and check out that video so you can find out if this one's worth it as well. And you're like, Scott, do you have any more on that video? Why, yes, I do. The next one is Overgear. I love this. It's from Eyes Press line. It was phenomenal. My son loved it as well. In that video, I give you more in depth on what I thought of this series. You're like, Scott, is there any more on that? Why, yes, there is. Thanks for asking. And that is The Villainess Turns the Hourglass. This was so good. My daughter loved it as well. She went and read it twice, and that is on that video. You're like, Scott, is there anything else on that video? There is, but to do that, we need to move on to smaller publishers. Let's go ahead and move on to smaller publishers. The first being a webtoon. This is The God of High School, where I give you more details on that as well. Scott, is there any more? There is on that video, and there is Innocence. This is from Dark Horse. This is the omnibus. It's 3-in-1. Very interesting story about the executioner. I go more in detail on that. Scott, is there any more? There is. Thank you for asking. This is Unordinary. I really enjoyed this first volume. It was phenomenal. Highly recommend checking out. Scott, is there more? There is more. Thank you for asking again. And that is The Ice Guy and the Cool Girl. I feel a little cool off in the series. It bothers me how small it is over here. But that's another one that you can check out on that video I made. And you're like, Scott, is there any more? Yes, there is. Of course there is. And that is Noblesse. This is a vampire series. I was a little annoyed, as you see, as I turn the paneling. There's a lot of dead space with here. I wish there wasn't so much dead space, but I'm intrigued enough. I'll probably go and check out the other volumes. Scott, is there more? No, there is not. And guys, with that, let's go ahead and move on to segue to my favorite of all that we do, and let's go ahead and talk about some out of print. I picked up is another series that I'm very scared to try to collect any more of the volumes, as the other volumes go for anywhere from $30 to over $100. Last volume being over $200, which I've seen to be a steal. And that is Raid Master. I got volume 23 and volume 27. I now own volumes 1 through 27 of the series, and we'll probably pause there. I do look almost every day to see if there's new volumes, from 28 all the way to 35. The last one goes for around 200. I'm like, it's a little too much. I can't do it. I'm willing to pay a little bit over MSRP for each volume, but there's no way I can pay over $100 for a volume. As number 20, I've seen for over $60, 29 for around 30, number 30 for around over 100, 31 for around 60, 32 for over 100 again. It's just too much for me. It's interesting is most of the other volumes are actually fairly cheap, and I love that I got such a great deal for the other volumes. It's one I do hope someday to own, but until now, we're gonna go ahead and probably hit pause until someday. Hopefully I can just find these out in the wild, or KODANSHA should be very kind to go ahead and reprint the series. Whew, that is a lot of manga, my friends. Now, if you, for some reason, chose to stuck to the end of this video, congratulations, you made it. I promise you this hopefully will be worth it to you, as I knocked out another series on my Holy Grail list, and I was able to get for less than $14 each volume, which I just thought was a steal, as MSRP for the series in 2005 was $10. It's just so out of print. I actually would be shocked if it actually gets re-released anytime soon, as some of it was just so controversial at the time, and that is none other than GTO. Wow, this series, I'm just shocked. I actually have all of the volumes for this series. I figured the best way to probably try to collect the series was to go ahead and, instead of getting them individually, if I could get a lot. And then a trick I recommend doing is when people on eBay post, instead of buy it now, they also have make an offer. And you know, it doesn't hurt to make them a low offer. Worst case is they say no. This person, I reached out to them and I said, hey, this is how much I've seen it go for on one auction, and they said yes. And these are in great condition. There's almost no yellowing. It feels like they barely have ever been opened. I think the person even put some of them were new, and it does feel that way. As I crack open these volumes, I was just shocked with how new they felt. They're in phenomenal condition, and I'm surprised I actually have this series now. I really did not think I would ever own GTO, and it's one that I just thought was going to be next to impossible to find. But it's one I have been checking every day for almost a year now to try to find the series. I was finally able to find it at a fair price. Now, if I didn't like the series, I could easily resell it. That's not something I'm planning on doing. It's not something I want to do. But I was just very, very, very grateful that I was go ahead and able to pick out this series. So here we go. Here we have a few more of GTO. I don't know why I didn't show volume 2 earlier, but for some reason the stack, it wasn't where it should be. But man, I'm in awe to knock out this Holy Grail series. So I thank you guys so much for helping me try to find bargains for the series, and I now can say it's one I no longer have to hunt for myself. With that said, that is all the manga we collect for November. Thank you so much for sticking through this video. I apologize, it's a little bit on the longer side. It's so many of these volumes were just single volumes, and I felt I needed to give a little description as I could on some of them, and then just race towards the end as I'm kind of mentally done with this. Hopefully I didn't mentally wear you out either, but thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this and you've not done so already, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That helps others know about this community that we have built with over 1,000 subscribers. It is just absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.